What stops us all from going to that future vision is, in my opinion, our subconscious conditioning.
Yeah.
And this is what I try to, in my work, try to uncover to help the client because the first step is for us to bring awareness to that subconscious conditioning.
Right.
Because as Carl Jung said, until you bring the unconscious conscious, it will drive your life and you'll call it fate.
Wow. The randomness of nothing, listeners. This is your host, Rashad Woods, today, and I have a very special guest who I've had a chance to talk with offline and just really get to know, and he's a very special individual, positive, helps people find the purpose and meaning in life, and he's walked the walk, more importantly, because he knows where people are coming from. Life coach, all-around good guy, world traveler, John Damiani. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rashad, for such a generous introduction, and it's wonderful to be speaking to you again. And thank you for hosting me on your show, and congratulations on the growth.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been kind of wild, right? When you start seeing rankings that are actually, outside of your own respective zip code or country, kind of have to pinch yourself a little bit, and you found me obviously because of that growth, and without people like you, it wouldn't be possible. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So first of all, you obviously have a very compelling story. You're from Jordan, currently in Italy. You went into banking and finance, and then eventually you found your calling, what you like to call that real purpose in life of yours. And now you help people through your coaching discover that same meaning of purpose. So will you just walk us through your background?
Absolutely. So I have a background in engineering, and I studied engineering because my family suggested I would. I wasn't really sure what I wanted. I didn't have any real passions when I was 18. So I went into engineering just because it was versatile. College for 5 years, and then I got into data analytics, and I joined the bank at the ripe age of 23, and I did data analytics for that bank for a couple of years, and then I got a job opportunity for another financial institution in Berlin, in Germany. So I left Jordan, my hometown, and I pursued that position in data analytics. And I stayed there for around 3 years.
That's amazing.
Now, the thing was that throughout my career, like the 5-6 years that I was working as a data analyst, even though I was really enjoying a lot of the job and I was utilizing my analytical mind coming from my engineering background, and I enjoyed that kind of environment. But there was always this knowing that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And at the beginning, it was very subtle, very low. It would disappear for months and then just come back, whisper, and then it would disappear again. But over the years, and especially the last year and a half, it really got louder and louder and louder as I continued to develop myself, inquire into myself, and just hone my personal practice and so on, and my routines. I really started to understand what my values were.
That voice got louder. That voice got louder to yourself.
The voice got louder, and I really started to understand that I wasn't really doing what I was supposed to do. And then the company I was working for in Berlin decided to close their offices in Berlin, and they let go of 70 people. And 6 months prior to that moment, I really was considering changing jobs. But what I thought would make me happy was just changing companies, like still do data analytics, stay in like maybe finance, but maybe change companies.
Correct.
And initially, that's what I tried to do. I took on, I started studying for certifications just to hone my data skills. I started interviewing and looking for jobs. But as I was studying and interviewing, this noise was getting louder and louder that, John, you're doing the wrong thing. And I tried to ignore it for weeks and months, but I couldn't. So eventually, after like 6 or 7 months of not knowing what to do, while continuing to develop my data skills, I landed on a transformational coaching school.
Beautiful.
That approach coaching from a spiritual angle. And I joined a 2-hour webinar that was hosted by the founder. And Rashad,
It was
in the
like that,
first,
just all of a sudden the lights all came off, right?
honestly, Rashad, in the first like 10 to 15 minutes of that 2 hour call, I could feel like a full body yes, like this is exactly what I've been looking for.
Right,
But
right.
I wasn't familiar with the world of coaching, the world of transformational coaching.
Did you
But
find
it
yourself, and I hate to interrupt, did you find yourself almost doubting yourself? Because when people will sit back and say, I don't have the skills to transfer in something like this,
self-doubt like naturally will arise. Like it's inevitable when we venture off into something completely unknown. Like the normal human response is fear and doubt, and of course I felt that. But the yes that and the certainty that I felt was much more profound than the self-doubt I was also feeling. So of course it was a journey to and the confidence comes from action. This is what I realized as well on my
correct,
path.
correct, correct.
Many of the times in the past I used to wait for the confidence to actually do the action.
Hmm.
But I then later realized that the confidence is a result, it's a byproduct of action.
Right.
So the more I practiced, the more I trained, the more I put myself out there, the more confidence I gained. And the
Isn't that
more
amazing?
certain, it's absolutely incredible. And and when we do like life-changing decisions, when we venture off into paths that are completely unfamiliar, it, like for me at least, it really triggered and brought to the surface a lot of fears that I wasn't familiar with,
For sure.
that were buried somewhere deep down, that
Yeah.
started to bubble up.
Right. Right.
And yeah, it's like a business venture, of course. Like it was me pursuing a different career path,
Yeah.
but the growth that I experienced personally within myself
Was invaluable.
has also been very profound, just because I took that leap of faith.
Well, I think what happens to people is that, a lot of people are more, not want to say insecure. Obviously, everybody has all their, but they have a lot more self-doubt than what what they want to admit. And I think that, things that are familiar with people gravitate towards, right? So here you are, highly educated, highly successful in your field of work. And so you could have autopiloted it and stayed in that respective career, notwithstanding that branch closing, you could have segued into something similar pretty, okay, well, those are the things that happen. But to have that bird's eye view of your own life and say, I think that there's something to be said about what's your inner purpose. And and the problem is that people punt, right? And so now it becomes a case of, here they are 5, 10, 20 years later, and they've still punted. You did that and you acted on it because you had a burning desire to make sure that that was not something that you were going to put off, because you have less time available than you truly do when you want to do things.
Yeah, and that's exactly the question I was asking myself. Like, okay, I could do data analytics for a few more years, but could I really bear the thought of doing it 10 years from now,
Correct.
15 years from now?
Correct.
And that thought, the idea of being in data for like 15, 20 years was unbearable. And what I was looking for was that feeling of fulfillment, that feeling of connection. And it wasn't that, like, I wasn't looking per se for my purpose in life, because that changes, I feel, in each phase
It's
of
fluid,
life.
right? That's fluid.
It's fluid, it changes in every phase. We have a different purpose. We might have multiple purposes. But what I was looking for, this feeling of connection to myself, connection to life, connection to, yeah, this feeling of fulfillment. And I could see that that feeling was not going to be available to me if I continued on that path.
Well, it's good. And some people never find that, and that's wonderful that you did. So let's talk about your coaching. Your coaching is obviously, for helping people find purpose, bringing out those self-doubts and transforming it into something positive. So how does I saw, from your website, you do a 5-minute, you do free consultations. So as somebody who's brand new, there's kind of a two-legged question. Number one,
Yeah.
what stage do you usually find people at? Age, male, female, and then two, what professions do you usually see people from? Is it all walks of life, or is it a specific profession that you see people come?
So Like these questions I wrestled with for quite a long time at the beginning of my journey, trying to understand, okay, who do I want to work with? What gender, what age group, which professions, which geographic location, and so on. But as I continued to work with people, what I realized that we all have, regardless of our age group, like from, let's say, once we're in adulthood and we're fully developed, regardless of where we grew up, regardless of what job we do, regardless whether we're whatever gender identity we identify with, if we really dive into the core, we're all very similar.
Of course,
Like
of
we
course,
come from very different backgrounds. We all
100%.
have our own personal history that could look very different.
Right.
But the impact of that history, if we really dive into the core, is very similar. Now, there's a gradient to each and every belief that we all have, and we all have tens of thousands of them subconsciously stored. But the ones that limit our potential and constrict us and create the heaviness or the stuckness or is very similar in each
Sure.
and every one of us.
Sure.
So I don't really look at gender identity, or I don't look at specific age groups, because what I realized is through coaching and talking to people and doing deep introspective work, the work is very similar.
Right.
Now, there are specific fields where we need a specialist in that field, like people who went through severe trauma in their life. They might need a therapist or a specific kind of practitioner to help them in that field.
Right.
But the majority of us, again, are very similar in that field, in that respect.
And so, and I didn't know if it was a certain, not necessarily you reaching out, if they were reaching out to you. Here's what I found most fascinating about you is that most people don't get to that point of where I've acknowledged the fact that I'm successful, but I want more. So from the outside looking in, if you were to tell, your inner circle, or if you did, and I'm not here to say that you did or you didn't, and you tell them like, hey man, I need to level up from what I'm doing right now. Most people would look at from the outside, like, you're in finance, you came from Jordan, you're living in Europe, you're on the outside looking in. How could you possibly be professionally or personally, dissatisfied? But it's all about what you wanted to accomplish at the end of the day and what your life wanted a trajectory move. And I think people sometimes don't put that into perspective. Not to say you should get a little selfish, but you really should, right? Is it truly the purpose that what I'm living is leading to that fulfillment?
Yeah. And it's not bad or wrong, right, to be seeking external approval. Like it's embedded in our conditioning, right? From the moment we grow up, we want the approval of our primary caregivers, right? We want to make mom and dad happy.
Correct.
And the result is we abandon our own needs to get that approval, because this approval from our primary caregivers as kids,
it's invaluable.
we're completely dependent on them, means like we get shunned and like we will probably die, right? So seeking the external approval of people is very deep conditioning, and it's not wrong.
Right.
And however, again, that like it came with like it's something that this is one of the things that was coming up for me, that at the beginning I talked to, like this was one of the fears, that okay, will people really judge me when I share that I'm leaving behind my successful career in data and I was making very good money? People will think I'm doing the wrong decision and they will judge me and so on. And it's beautiful, right? Because it pointed to an area where I can grow.
Absolutely.
It pointed to an area where, okay, there's more work to do within myself. And looking for those triggers whenever we get triggered, regardless of what that trigger is, just it's pointing to where I can actually get to know myself at a deeper level.
For sure.
Where can I love myself more deeply, accept my circumstances, and so on.
What advice, what insight does somebody have to do before they get on a call with you? Like, what information do you ask them to do? Like, okay, John, I'm ready to schedule a call. This is what I'm at in life. What information do they disclose? Is it pre-advanced or do they just do an introductory call? Are there specific assignments that people have to be given, that involve, okay, if we're going to do this together, I need this from you specifically? Because it's a two-way street. You're at the end of the day, they have to give something to you to be able to transform themselves.
Yeah. So primarily, when I go through a coaching journey with a client, the client is experiencing something in the present moment. They're either going through a challenge, or they're feeling stuck, or they're going through emotional turmoil, or whatever that challenge is in the present moment, right? And they want to get to a future state, whether it's more fulfillment in their career, or more acceptance of their partner, or they want to heal a certain wound within them. There's like a future vision, right? But what stops us all from going to that future vision is, in my opinion, our subconscious conditioning.
Yeah.
And this is what I try to, in my work, try to uncover to help the client, because the first step is for us to bring awareness to that subconscious conditioning. Because as Carl Jung said, until you bring the unconscious conscious, or until you make the unconscious conscious, it will drive your life and you'll call it fate.
Wow.
So the idea is to bring our subconscious beliefs that are limiting our potential and make them conscious, so we can start working on them. So what I ask, to come back to your question, is, where are you now? What are the challenges you're experiencing? Where do you want to go to? What's the vision for yourself, let's say in the coming 6 to 12 months? And what do you think might be in the way?
Right. I think I'm sorry. I think one of the challenges when people talk about coach is that they think there's something wrong with them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons people don't get coaches, right? Because I can't speak for everybody, but it's like, people would all of a sudden you get a coach and it sounds like there's something that you failed at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why people don't get a coach, and that's one of the reasons why people get a coach as well.
Right.
Like, I think I'm flawed in a way.
Yeah.
That I'm broken in a way.
Yeah.
And this person is going to fix me. This person is going to help me be whole again. And that's also one of the very common, or I think this is the most common belief that I would say most of us can relate to. That there is something wrong with me, or I'm not good enough.
Right.
And I need to fix something within myself.
Yeah.
To become good.
Absolutely.
Right? But again, it's a lie. It's a complete lie.
I think that people have and there's not a lot of like here's whenever I've interviewed people, I always ask this question, because obviously social media has a great way of having people to reach out and to get that personal growth and success that they're seeking for, or that fulfillment that they're achieving. How do you make sure, because there's such a proliferation of advice given online, that you're the real deal, so to speak? And I say that respectfully because, and I only ask this for the purpose of this show because I know you are. So how do people know who to pick as a coach? Licensings, testimonials, things like that.
It depends, but I would say just go with your intuition, personal connection, because there are hundreds of thousands of coaches out there.
Yes. Just like podcasters like myself. Right?
Like podcasters like yourself. And when you're in a container with a person, it's a very intimate space, right? Like, you're really diving deep into your own psyche, into the challenges, into your own history. So I think the number one key thing is the connection that you like the coach and the client have.
Correct.
Right? And the connection can be felt immediately if there's it's a powerful partnership, if it's built on respect, and it feels like a safe space, right? Because that's also very important, just for the person who's getting coached to feel safe, to be able to open up.
Understood.
And of course, personal experience from the coach, like, have they personally done the work? Because you can get all the certifications in the world. I think what really makes a great coach great is the work they do on themselves. And the deeper we go within or the deeper I go within myself, the better I'll be able to partner with people and help them transform their own life.
Beautiful.
So I can get all the certifications in the world, but if I'm not implementing that knowledge into my own life and getting to understand my own subconscious beliefs and my own limitations and my own conditioning, I won't be able to help the person sitting across the screen from me.
I had a very powerful guest once, and I've quoted him on a few different episodes, and his name is Brandon Barnum. I always quote him because he said one of the most powerful quotes I'd ever heard in my entire life. He said, "There's life by design and there's life by default." And if you actually really take that message to heart, you can do what you did, which is, I'll just default it. I'll get my post-secondary education and just go to this particular path. And then there's the design part where where you take that moment, you're sitting at home and you have those quiet moments and you're like, this is going to lead to something that maybe I'm not going to be fulfilled with. And I'm going to design out what I want to do. And, whether it's a health issue, whether it's a divorce, whether it's any personal, it doesn't always have to be a tragedy, right? It can be a positive thing too. But it says something when somebody can actually start designing that fulfillment in that area, to navigate towards that ultimate goal. And it's fulfilling because then you wake up every day with that burning and purpose to help other people get to that stage in life.
Yeah. And from my own experience, we all, the social conditioning on this is quite deep for all of us. What we think will bring us fulfillment is more materialistic,
right.
more wealth, more money,
right.
the car, the house, and
right.
so on.
Right.
However, what I realized is, of course, it's important to have enough money. It's important to have a house and so on.
Of course.
But however, there are intermediate goals to a bigger goal. And the bigger goal is that will actually bring us fulfillment is being of service to others.
Correct.
Or family, personal, relationships, cultivating familiar relationships or friendships, pursuing our own deepening, connecting with whatever that looks like, whether we're spiritual, whether we're religious, whatever that looks like. Those are the things that actually bring true fulfillment.
Correct.
And money and the house and the car are they could be stepping stones.
And and what I found, most fascinating about your history is that you're very open and transparent about your own, sense of fulfillment, and it takes, in order to be a successful coach, in anything, not just, you have to be willing to share with your students that maybe you're not comfortable and under normal circumstances you wouldn't feel comfortable with, but if they're going to open up to you, you have to open up to them. You're very transparent about, where you wanted to be at in life. And for the purpose of this show, and we've talked, 2 or 3 different times, I always ask this of every guest that, where can people find John Damiani and your services that you offer?
So they can find me first and foremost on my website, is John Damiani, DAMIANI.me.
That name was a hard time for me to pronounce after a while, man, because I wanted to.
I know.
It's a tongue twister.
I know. It's an Italian name, so here everybody spells it perfectly and pronounces it easily. And my Instagram handle is the same, johndamiani.me. And you can connect with me through my website or through my Instagram, or on LinkedIn as well.
Beautiful. Do you find, and just briefly, do you find out that, with the internet, do people have just as good a coaching session, over Zoom or other platforms as they had when it was in person? Do you do in person, or is it just primarily Zoom or, other platform online?
To answer your first question, always in-person connection is a much more profound connection, right? When we're sitting with the person.
Right.
Can see them, can feel them as well. When we're sitting next to each other rather than across the screen. But that is not to say that virtual connections can be also very powerful. So it's a mix of both, but I primarily work virtually because the people I work with are living all over the world.
Okay, nice.
But the more people in person I can coach, the better.
That's got to be fun to see people from different countries seeking out your services because what they saw or read or heard about you online resonated with them. That is a beautiful thing. That is a wonderful thing.
Indeed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I will promise you this: you have it's definitely been enlightening to talk to you a number of times. I'm glad we finally got a chance to film our official episode. It is definitely a shine of light to be able to know that you're helping people find that sense of fulfillment that you yourself have found. And for everybody who's listening, best thing about it is that all it takes is a little bit of will. It's not even about flaws. It's about understanding your place in the world and where you ultimately want to go. And that's what the purpose of this show is to talk to people like yourself. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you very much for hosting me again. And it's like the 3 times we talked. They were like it's a complete pleasure. It's an
it wasn't even
pleasure.
like an interview. It was just like, man, we're just going to talk and just have a good time. Sipping a coffee. It's like 2 friends just catching up with each other. So
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure. John Damiani on the T.R.O.N podcast. Thank you very much, sir, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You're so welcome.